Hello everybody, Trace here, and I thought I've been recently playing Diabotical, I should say. Uh, in, it's in beta at the moment, and I had a key and I decided to give it a go because I'm a big fan of Quake-like arena shooters, and it seemed like a fun game to try. But, people have been asking me recently when I was streaming it, and, like, my girlfriend has been asking me, and anybody who I actually play with asks me, uh, how the heck do I actually play this when it's an arena shooter, which is like a twitch shooter, you have good reflexes. How the heck do I play this with my disability? Now, for those of you who don't know, I only use two fingers on the keyboard, the first finger and my thumb, which means that in this game, my first finger is on the W key and my thumb goes ASD and ZXCV space control and shift. Control for crouch, space obviously for jump. ZXC are changing between rocket launcher, railgun, and lightning gun. And yeah, no, it's not as hard as people think. In my case, because my hands are ruined as such, I can't use all five of my fingers. It's interesting when I play quick shooters like this. I have to very much focus on what I'm doing. I have to make sure that I uh, do things like strafe using A and D by bringing my first finger down to the A and my thumb on D and alternating. And then I have to actually work out very much like the basis of a range shooters is working out exactly where your opponent's going to be and like firing, because a lot of arena shooter weapons are projectile, the key one being the rocket launcher. And in my case, it's doubly that, because I not only have to set up for where my opponent's going to be and firing there, but I also have to give my brain enough time to alternate the keys to do whatever I'm going to need to do to be in position. I need to give myself enough time to move those two fingers in the way they need to move. So you'll see me a lot when I stream this game. And I've won a good number of matches at this point, but you'll see me when I stream this game sometimes pause and take a few seconds that like no other player would. No other player like would pause in an arena shooter, but I take a pause so I can set up my next 6, 7, 8 moves in my head. So when I'm actually playing or actually fighting, I'm not suddenly losing track of where my hand is meant to be. Because as maybe you guys don't know, or maybe you do know, if this is your first video watching me and you're just here like, oh, how does a disabled person play it? I have a disability called HSM, which means I can't feel, which means when I'm playing and I'm focusing, I cannot feel my hand. I can't tell where it is. I'm just assuming through years and years of practice, it's on the right keys. Now that can sometimes go wrong. I can sometimes click the wrong keys, but at this point, I'm 22 years old. Uh, Usually, where I put my hand, it's where it goes. Which brings me on to my next thing about this game. I'm also partially blind due to cornea scarring, which basically means when I was a kid I scratched the corneas of my eyes and damaged them, which means that conventional methods of fixing eyesight problems like glasses and stuff like that won't work, because it's not a nearsighted or a farsighted issue. It's literally just I've actually scarred the eyes. But in my case, it's only one eye. My right side eye is damaged, and that brings up a lot of issues in video games that require distance shooting. So CSGO, I have a lot of problems with. Rainbow Six Siege, with the amount of environmental clutter, it's very hard to see the view models. However, I can report that in this game, I have no such issues. Everything's really simple. The big egg shapes make it really easy for me to see. I don't have to worry that I'm not going to see who killed me. In Quake Champions, on the other hand, the models very much blend into the background. That's a game that it had a really weird decision for its art style, because it went for this hyper like stylized, hyper graphically intensive art style that made everything a bit muddy for my eyes, I should say. I say eye because, one's damaged, but I do have both. Um, it made it really muddy for my eyes. Like, how do you tell this apart from this? Like, it's so hard sometimes. But this game, bright, colorful art style. Players can pop. You can set the color of the players. It's great. They thought of everything. Like, really, Quake arena shooters aren't that accessible. As you can see in this match here, I've actually got around to rebinding the explosive to middle mouse button so I can actually use it better. Because in that last match, as you could see, I was how do I say? I was having difficulties. I was going up and then not having enough time to adjust to that because I was using R, which means I had to bring one of my fingers over to R, which means it wasn't on a direction. And then I'd have to press R and then quickly bring my finger back, so I was having a lot of difficulty there. Anyways, carrying on with customization theme. This game has some of the best customization I've seen. You can customize the HUD elements so stuff is unclear. For right now, I'm using the basic HUD, but if I'm playing like more and more, and I feel like I want to reposition, I can. Same with crosshair, same with enemy colors. Anything that I find hard to see. Say on this map, there's an abundance of like orange, and that might be confused with yellow of the enemies. It isn't in this case, but it might be. I can just go and change that instantly. I don't have to worry. And that's great. I think that's truly a wonderful thing. I literally don't have to worry about going in and wanting to change things. It's not difficult. They haven't made it nearly impossible. They've also, I believe, got visual indicators for where you've been hit, which is another great thing, because just stacking them on, I'm also partially deaf. I'm deaf in one ear, which means fully deaf in one ear, I should elaborate. So my left ear fully does not work, and that means that hearing on my left side, I cannot. I usually assume by proxy in arena shooters that if I can't hear my opponent, he's on my left side. That's usually how I do it. There's a level of paranoia you have to have when you're deaf in terms of gaming. You always have to assume there's someone on your left side, and just check that more regularly than your right. Or, if you're trying to locate a position, you will constantly revolve your right side, in my case. So you will spin that right side around until you can hear him, and that will tell you more concretely where he is. This game's audio design, I think, is pretty good. I've actually been able to locate people pretty easily. I've actually really enjoyed the fact that they haven't had too many difficulties. But I'm not getting any bleed through. If it's on my left side, I can only hear it when I spin my right side over. Whereas in some games like Siege, the left side bleeds through into the right. But that's just something to do with audio mixing, and it's not a huge problem. To be honest, in arena shooters, it's nice to know what's on your left and what's on your right. And in this case, it just means I can only hear it when it's on my right, which is okay, I guess. I can work with it. And mechanics wise, game works really well. I'm not having any difficulties aiming, shooting, uh, bunny hopping. There's like a pseudo bunny hop where you keep the momentum of your rocket, and I like that. They've enabled auto jump, so I don't even have to press space. So that's one less thing I have to do if I'm gonna be doing it. I can keep my first finger on movement keys and just keep my thumb on space, because usually you can just in terms of movement keys, when you're already keeping forward momentum, you just press A or D, and that works out beautifully, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, from a perspective of a disabled person, someone who is partially deaf, partially blind, and has problems with their hands, this game is pretty damn good, I'll be honest. And I'm excited to see where they go in the future.